Okay, real quickly, God's way is the only way to live in a disintegrating culture. Now, for the next couple minutes, it's 11 minutes after, I'd like to talk to you about the context. Turn back to chapter 1 of 1 Peter, okay? Most people don't like history. I understand. I was a history major. I did my doctorate in history. I could talk about history all night long, and you would fall asleep like Eutychus, only I can't raise you from the dead. So we're not going to do that tonight, okay? But look what it says. Peter, this is verse 1 of chapter 1. Peter, an apostle of Jesus Christ. You all know who Peter is, right? The chief vocal leader of the apostles. To the pilgrims of the dispersion, and look at this. I used to have a secretary many years ago that worked at the church, and we would read the Bible in staff meetings. And we would read whole chapters. And whenever she'd get to a word like Pontus, she'd go, hard word, hard word, hard word, hard word, hard word. She wouldn't try and pronounce them, but I'll read them for you. Just try and pronounce them. It's fun. But to the dispersion in, look at verse 1, Pontus, Galatia, Cappadocia, Asia, and Bithynia. Now, most Bibles are equipped in the back with a map, except I've taped stuff in mine. But if you could see the map, you would see that's all over modern-day Turkey. Asia Minor is Turkey. Peter was writing to people in provinces of modern-day Turkey, which is Roman Asia Minor. So these people were, verse 2, born-again people. They were elect according to the foreknowledge of God. They were living in a culture that's exactly parallel to ours. Let me show you what I mean. What I call this is shocking similarities between Century 1 societal norms and today's. What was normal in Century 1? Well, here's just a little listing, okay? The people were materialistic, pagans. There was sexual perversion that was front page. The people were absolutely distracted. You talk about the iPhone generation. You know, Bonnie and I, the Givens, we were trying to decide who was on the Beijing subway most recently. But when we travel to the Orient, they have better phones than we do, by the way, over in the other side of the world. But Bonnie and I were on a subway, absolutely standing room only, in China, and I looked, and there were only 3 people that did not have a screen in front of their eyes, watching YouTube clips or whatever they were watching, MTV or something. And they were 90. Everyone else was totally distracted, earbuds in, watching. They just knew their subway stop and they got off. And I thought, we think, oh man, people are distracted. The first century was more distracted than any other century till ours. And finally, they were desensitized. I told you about ISIS. ISIS, this week, roasted 4 men, just like you would over a grill, and filmed it. Did you know that has been seen so much on television that people aren't even shocked by that anymore? The first century was desensitized. Just through that list, right in the middle, I said sexual perversion. The gay marriage, whatever just recently passed, whatever the official word for it, the equality of marriage or whatever it is. Did you know that shocks us, or it shocked many people? Did you know in the first century, Nero was married to a male slave that had been castrated, and Nero's slave Florus was his wife, and Nero rode in his chariot, and Florus, his male wife, rode next to him in the chariot? Did you know that's who Paul was talking about in Romans 13, where the scriptures say that we are to be subject to the powers that be? Did you know that Paul told the early church that they were to obey what Nero said unless Nero told them to do something God said not to do? And Peter goes above that. Peter says, honor that practicing sodomite named Nero. Honor him in the name of God as a good subject citizen. Did you know that the Roman Christians never thought they were supposed to take over the Roman culture? Do you know how much time we Americans have spent trying to claim America for God? He already owns the place. God owns everything. We are not called to claim our culture and take it over. We're called to lead individuals to Christ. And if we put as much energy into that as we have for the last 30 years into politics, since the moral majority of the 80s, if we spend as long trying to lead people to Christ as we have trying to get our different bills through Congress to try and make pagans act like Christians, did you know lost people act like lost people? Why are we trying to make lost people act like Christians? It doesn't work. It's like nailing Jell-O to the wall. It doesn't work. So what you do is you see individuals changed to Christ-likeness. Then they don't want that sinful way anymore. They are, like it says in 1 Peter, they are denying, see what it says in verse 1 of chapter 2? They lay aside their malice and evil deceit and hypocrisy and envy and everything that's evil. They turn from that when they come to Christ. So this culture is eerily, the first century, eerily like the 21st century. We have now come full circle back to first century times. First century times, there was blood running in the arena and people screamed for more. They were desensitized. There was people totally distracted by the whole cycle of Rome and the games and all the excitement. There was a practicing sodomite emperor that promoted all that. And we've just come all the way around to the same thing. And the same gospel is what we're supposed to present to see God change lives. So we'll look at that.